Hello, everyone. I'm back. This is Book to Scratch. For the first time, I'm going to say this is episode 18. I wasn't doing that for some reason. I don't know why. Um, Sorry, I just realised that something's missing. Oh, where is it? There we go. The chat. Sorry, I didn't have the YouTube chat ready to go, so I couldn't see it if anyone got in contact during the stream. Sorry, let's get started properly. Welcome to Book from Scratch. Almost forgot the name of my own YouTube series. This is where I'm writing a book live, so that if you're a writer, would-be writer, you want to start a book, and you're worried about how do I really do it, I thought that if I just did it live, if I just wrote a book that I completely made up on the spot as we were doing this, then you would be able to see the probable steps that you would do in order to get your book from up here onto the computer, computer. There we go. Down here, if you're on TikTok, of course. And what did I do in the last episode? Well, I've started writing. You'll be good here. We started on the book 1 fantasy, and we wrote the first line. So this is and I'm not going to rehash this again. So this is what I wrote. If you want to know how to write the first line of your book, or what to consider, or what I think you should consider, go to someone else. If you want a separate idea, there's no one way of doing it. This was just mine. Maybe you can copy it. Maybe that'll be useful to you. That's up to you. But I wrote this as he repeatedly stabbed the soldier between the plates of its armour. Huxton started to wonder if it was working at all, as his adversary seemed not to notice, and maybe he would need a new plan. Now, I've already been over why I made this the first line. It's not it's not going to stay this way forever. I'll probably go back and rework it. And then I continued. I don't know why the text is bigger. I started writing a little bit more because I wanted to put in my own mind the first line into some sort of context that would give me a sense of whether or not it's the right first line. So what I'm doing now is just unfortunately putting in the parameters I like to write in, the way I like stuff to be. There we go, good, and hopefully it'll stay that way forever now. So, I wrote the first line, and then I wrote a little bit more. So, this scene, if you, where is it? So this is my notes that I take on the iPad, or other tablets are available. And this is the breakdown of the fantasy story. I know it looks like a mess, I understand it. And if you had watched that episode, go back and watch all the episodes, then you would also understand where this is going. But this is just a breakdown for me so that I know what's going to happen bit by bit by bit by bit by bit throughout. Now, what I'm going to have to do is almost just replicate this very quickly. In order, I think this is what all authors do, so I don't think it's anything new. So fantasy, because there's two, as you know, if you've been watching, this is an anthology where each book, think of it like a TV series, where like a 10 episode TV series, each small book within it informs the larger book, like each episode informs the larger series. There's 2 fantasy books sandwiching a bunch of others, like a western, a romance, and a comedy, a horror, etc., etc. That's because for you, I wanted to write live all those different genres for me to learn, but also for you to learn how to do those particular genres. But like I said, the book is there's 2 fantasy books at the end, and then there's all the other genre books as well. So this is fantasy book 1, the introduction. I didn't need to start at number 1. I'm just doing it for you guys. So this is fantasy book 1, and so first chapter. Now, what I need to do is probably just quickly plan out this chapter so I know what to write. To start visualizing it in my own head. So I know that the first chapter is an intro chapter. It's not a prologue. Well, it kind of is a prologue, but for now I'm not treating it as a prologue. But so it's an intro chapter, and it's about introducing Fortis and Huxton, the primary protagonists, and sort of explaining their reasons for being adventurers, basically. But I'm also going to solidify the very primary theme of this particular book. The primary theme of this book is maybe if you tackle the little things, the big things become easier. So for give you an example, there's quite a few dictators around the world right now. If you look at somewhere like America, there's obviously a rising dictator as of September 2025. And you can think, well, the big thing is to start a war and deal with him, or get the opposing side to actually do something that's actually going to bring him down. But the truth is, if you want to defeat him earlier, the little things to do, if you want to truly get rid of dictators, then you need to start solving problems in a country so that there's nothing a dictator can weaponize in order to put them up on a pedestal. The truth is, the current president is no good at his job. My opinion. Probably true. And definitely true. Anyway, if previous Democrats had just solved the problems in America, like proper healthcare, proper immigrant integration, if they had kicked the rich out of power in America, if they'd done a better democratic system, get rid of the electoral college and stuff like that, then America would be in a far better place than it is now, and there'd be nothing for him to leech off of as a sort of fear-inducing roadmap into power. So this series is about, if you start tackling the little things, the big bad guy doesn't have anything. In the same way that, because it's kind of compared to Lord of the Rings, if Sauron wants to take over, but if you're just integrated the orcs better into society, if you were just better at taking care of that ring and getting it thrown into Mount Doom in the first place, if you had kicked Denethor out of power, for example, if maybe Aragorn had taken over just a little bit quicker, things like that, then Sauron would go, "Where's my ring?" And then he'd have no orc soldiers to help him. Saruman wouldn't feel like he should probably, help Sauron because he's weakened, and the ring race will leave, and then they'll get completely blitzed by giant armies of men from Rohan, from Gondor, maybe even a few thousand hobbits who have been the dwarfs, the elves, all recruited. And then, because Lord of the Rings is kind of predicated on the idea that no one was really ready for Sauron because they'd been weakened, but if they had strengthened themselves, made some friends, Sauron would be in a worse position. He might be able to get a few orcs, he might be able to get a few ring wraiths, maybe a few fell beasts and Haradrim from the south, but they'd ultimately meet an army of tens of hundreds of thousands, maybe Gondorians, Rohan, hobbits, elves, dwarfs, who had just had better lives beforehand, and even some orcs who had joined them, and then he would have nothing. That's my point. Enough on that. I always go over the theme, but either way, one thing the first chapter should probably do is say something about what the theme of the story is, so that it's revealed now, and then you'll see how it's emphasized throughout the whole thing. What I need to do quickly is break down this first chapter. So it starts with Fortis and Huxton fighting. Now this soldier is a magically created typical soldier, so fighting soldier, because what they're dealing with is the first of the big bads in this book, what's it called? Minions. We'll go with minions. He's starting his rise to power. So this soldiers attack the village for resources or just to induce fear and this is what kicks off their desire to join the fight in some way. So Fortis and Huxton, they're fighting the soldier. So essentially, then I've got to intro the setting and characters properly in this. Intro the setting. Then they've got there's going to be a little bit of more fighting, more action, we'll say. And then there's going to have to be what I've decided that they will like flee because they're not. It's not working. So this introduces the wider attack happening on the village. So they'll leave whatever building they're in. They'll go, this is a big attack, and what do we do? I think they'll fight again. And excuse my penmanship when I'm trying to do it on a tablet. Anyway, flee they see the wider attack, they fight again, and then they realize it's not working. Oh dear. Not working, and then it's a different solution. So I'll just put second solution. So like the fighting is their go-to solution, and they realize there's a second way of doing it, a second way of dealing with a problem. And this is all kicking off their desire to go and join the fight, as it were. But it also lays in Fortis and Huxton's minds this idea that, in a way, the first solution, which is just to deal with the problem as it arises, rather than dealing with the problem before it even rises at all, is sort of integrated right here. And they don't utilize it at the very beginning of the story. They'll learn throughout each book, and that idea of theirs grows as they see it working. But this sort of lays the groundwork for it. What I need to do now is is break these up into little more points, and this is the way I think about it. Sometimes I think about it in my head. Sometimes I have these notes. Sometimes just all in my head anyway. I would always say get notes. These are the big plot points in the chapter, and then you break these down into little action set pieces, and then each one of these is essentially what you write about, almost paragraph to paragraph. Okay, so let's zoom in. So if they're fighting the soldier, so we've already got the first line, so getting right into the action gets the reader involved. So stabbing intruder. So from this situation, they're trying to stab, it's not working. I've already written this thing about how Fortis is on the ground with the soldier's boot on his neck trying to break it. I imagine that Huxton's on top trying to stab the soldier through the plates of the armour, as stated. So the stabbing intruder, it's not working. So Huxton thrown off. How do I get Fortis out from underneath? Thrown off. Then Huxton decides to throw something at soldier. Good. So that gets Fortis Huxton. That's the time to talk about the setting they're in. So talk about the house. In a sense, what I've imagined that Fortis and Huxton would they'd met up as mates to meet up, and then this attack has happened. The soldier burst in. So I'll talk about the setting. Let's see. If you talk about this, so you just describe where they are to give some sort of context. So soldier gets ready to attack again, essentially. And this will go into dialogue to flesh out Fortis and Huxton's relationship. So basically the way they talk about what's going on reveals something about them, so I don't have to just tell the reader, I'm showing it. So more action. They obviously have to try and fight him in a different way. How could they do it? Well, okay, hang on a minute. So the soldier retrieves weapon. So let's say that when he burst in, both of them managed to get the weapon off him. Then it was Huxton above him trying to stab him. Fortis is on the ground. We don't need to describe that. Doesn't matter. Fortis retrieves weapon. Fortis retrieves weapon. What can they do? I know. Rug. Rug on soldier. They literally throw the rug on the soldier. Like even a sword would be like stab through it, but the carpet's now sort of basically covering him. They throw the rug on the soldier, then they should probably try and break something over him. I know, they're trying to do something really clever. They kick him into the fire. They're kicking him into the fire. Now this is the sort of thing I'm going to have to do. Like, this is not a big house, it's a small house. Like, the fire's going to be, you know, a little thing with the chimney. You can't really kick anyone into that. So now I'm going to have to rethink the design of the house, and maybe it should be an open plan fire in the middle, which now means kick him into the fire. So open plan, essentially. And then I have to just make a note that that's how I have to describe it, because I was thinking I'll just describe like the normal kind of chimney you get in a nice little cottage somewhere, and I kick at it, but now the way I want to do the action doesn't work, so I now have to rejig the setting. That happens. So now they flee, so they have to head outside as a flaming soldier is left in the house. Tries to get them. So they flee, and then describe village. Now I think that Fortis is an orc, Huxton is a human, already been settled in the notes. I thought about, in this one, orcs aren't the catch-all bad guy. They're just another sub-race with their own culture. And I thought, let's do an orc culture that actually has, you know, oh man, I feel like I'm doing some sort of quasi-racist, the barbarian savage kind of, sorry. Think about this. In this one, I want the orcs to have a culture that is beyond the typical orc culture of let's just smash each other over the head and that will settle all arguments, kind of. You know how in Lord of the Rings orcs have a very terrible looking civilization around them that is a product of them being ostracized by the humans, the elves and dwarfs, but also it's got nothing to do with them personally. So I think I want to give them that, and I need to at least give some sense of that already. So I actually kind of I'm going to give the orcs something that is perhaps not our kind of civilization. I don't want to have orcs living in nice, neat lawns, modern day houses for a fantasy universe. I still want them to have a sort of rustic, maybe living somewhere where most people wouldn't normally live, like orcs tend to do. They always tend to live somewhere disgusting because it's supposed to emphasize that they're bad. I don't want to do that. So what I thought was a village on edge of swamp. Now you might go, swamp bad. Not true. People live next to swamps in our real world today, and that can be considered nice, different. Like, well, maybe not swamp. So maybe like, I'm gonna put here Everglade. What is the Everglades anyway? Let me just double check what that is, because is it kind of swampy? Everglades, a natural region of flooded grasslands and flooded grassland. Swamp / Everglade. Let's just check something about swamps actually quickly. Swamp is a forested wetland. Oh, okay, good. So the Everglades and the swamp, basically the same thing. And I do think that these areas can be pretty. It's nice, all that water, islands, but swamps aren't where you normally go to, so it feels orcish, but they'll have their own culture. And again, I'm not saying that they're it's not like humans are going to go, orcs so uncivilized for living on a swamp. No, it's just another region. It's like the dwarfs are cool for living underground, the elves are cool for living in a forest, the humans are cool for living in, I don't know, castles and whatever, and orcs are cool for living in what could be considered very pretty. It's very natural. So they're using natural resources. Either way, that's what I'm going to describe here. I'll get to more. So they're fleeing, and I guess they have to run somewhere else. So meeting other villagers, run to meet other villagers. Okay, so the wider attack bit. Oh dear. Okay, so they run to meet other villagers. Okay, we need to figure out who these people are. So they'll go to village library. Meet librarian. Oh, hang on a minute. Meet librarian. Figure out who they are. Because what I imagine is they're not a physical being. They're more like an automaton. Very powerful, maybe a very powerful one. They figure it out. Then they soldier bursts into library or lib. They throw books. Okay, and I just think that's humorous enough. To the librarian hates them for throwing book. Maybe a funny scene with them throwing a very thick, heavy book. So that fight's not working. Okay, so they have to fight him again. How could they possibly do that? I just realised something. This is a good way to introduce how Fortis and Huxton fight later on. So Fortis, I am going to play classic orc stereotyping here, and so he's a physical fighter. So he picks up. But this is also going to sort of ground the magical unit. Picks up book on magic, but fighting magic. I'll explain this later. And then Huxton will do the same, but he's going. So Fortis uses magic to channel into greater physical abilities. Huxton uses it to cast the spells. That's going to be the difference between them. But the way I've been thinking about the magic system, that it works by what you know about how the more you know about how the natural world works, the more you can use magic to imitate it. So if you don't know, for example, how time works, you can't reverse time, pause time. So that kind of gets rid of the most powerful things. But if you know how things freeze, you can replicate being frozen. So he picks up. So his book is more about well, obviously it's more science-based magic. But what kind? Elemental? No, that doesn't seem right. I don't want to use elemental magic. It's always used. But it has to be basic enough for him to use it for the first time in his life. So fire is actually really complicated. It's not just have this ingredient, this energy source lights it, creates fire, but we still don't quite know what's going down at the real atomic level when that happens. So it needs to be something else. Maybe the creature's going to be made of metal, so maybe metallurgy. I'm going to try that when I get closer to it. Now and they try to fight, okay, using these two things here. So I'll describe them picking at it, and they're getting it from the library books. Now it's not working, so let's just say too strong. The creature's too strong, or the fight just trying to destroy them doesn't work. Trying to destroy them doesn't work. So then they need to figure out what else would work. And this is where I reach a conundrum. What would work instead then? In a way, Fortis builds himself up using his physical strength, strikes the thing, it sort of works but doesn't work enough, the thing's too powerful. Huxton tries to change the metal maybe by knowing the process of forging and being able to replicate it. But doesn't work either. And now this is where I'm introducing the theme. So now they've got to try something else. Maybe they think, who's controlling them? Someone must be controlling them. This is playing to the theme though. Essentially what I'm doing here now is, if they think, well, who's controlling them? If we go for them instead, then that makes more sense than trying to fight them. So if you can destroy who's controlling them, they will collapse and they won't work. But is that the theme? Like, the theme is solve these lesser problems and it doesn't work. And the bad guy loses. Maybe it doesn't need to be an exact representation of the theme. Maybe this is just like Fortis Nux didn't realise at the end would like say something like, well, fighting didn't work, but thank goodness we figured out this alternative. And they are always doing that alternative. They're always looking for an alternative in the first few books of this series, but then they reach the conclusion that the alternative should be like stop it before it becomes a problem, or solve the problem for all. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so who's controlling? Then it's find and stop, and then they have to, this is their like thing about being an adventure, always consider an alternative. No, that's what all heroes do, isn't it? They always try to find, like, something always goes wrong and they always have to think of something else. That's like natural. It needs to be, need to express it differently. They need to find and stop it. So it's almost like it's not necessary to be direct. Make this simpler. No need to be no need to be direct. So that's essentially their conclusion. Now, arrow going off here. Need to add that note. Throughout, Fortis and Huxton know to not be direct in dealing with problems. Which means they always generate the backup plan. So in every book, they are always coming up with the backup plan that the team needs. They always generate the backup plan. And then this evolves into them stopping the problem, or stopping or weakening. Weakening the problem before it starts. Then that's essentially evolves into the theme, and that's okay. So it's kind of like the theme, but maybe it's not the whole theme. Right, good. So now I know what I'm going to basically be writing, or at least a very good nope, that's one. Oh, good, that's how you do it. Right, sorry, the light failing on me there was my TV screen coming and going. Right, okay, I'm gonna just realise something's putting me off here. Paragraph doesn't look right. before and after 0, 0. That looks right. Good. Right. Let's continue writing. And now I know what to do. Okay. So where I'm at is right here. Stabbing intruder. So that's the first bit. So now I've got to go to here. Also, let's try and recharge this while I'm at it. Right. Stabbing intruder. Right. A little bit. I'm obviously doing a bit between in this gap right here. Is he had to do something? No, the being was currently trying to crush his best friend's neck under his boot. Fortis seized as the shin and put him onto the ground. Now I've got to throw him off. So a little bit of description to get us between there and there. Now Huxton needs to be thrown off. I think it's time for some people to speak. Oh, come on. Right, let's make this a bit easier to read for me. Okay, Fortis seized as he grips the shoulder's heel and shin and attempted to push it off as it pinned as it pinned him to the ground. Do something. Do something. Fortis, what would be the word if he's like gasped? Gasped, yes. Do something, Fortis gasped. I am doing something. I am doing something. Hux. It's. I think. So I don't know. Some people would tell you, and maybe I don't know. Some editors will tell you that you probably don't want to use the punctuation like I'm doing here. Well, what I'm doing, it's not working as like Fortis managed to splutter through gritted teeth. So he's both angry at the soldier and for Huxton for not being able to do anything about him. But like I'm saying, I use this like it's not working. I'm using these dashes, which are long pauses in writing, to simulate what someone's actually talking and doing. Some people will tell you this is a bad idea. Some people will tell you it's fine. Others will tell you it's a great idea. I'm on the great idea side of this. Maybe it's not. Like, the reason why I do this and I think it's okay is that Terry Pratchett, one of my favourite authors, does the same thing. He, in the book, when Death speaks, it's always in small caps to emphasise his deep voice that has this sort of agelessness about it. Some characters called the Auditors of Reality, they don't get speech bubbles at all. Like, they don't have the 66 and 99, the commas, because they're like these weird, very bland, very grey characters. They don't get speech, and it's weird when you read it. You have to be looking for it, and you have to pay a bit of attention. But once you know these characters and where they're coming from, you stop needing the speech marks. And one of the characters, who's like a god, a whole page is just his speech, like really big text. So Terry Pratchett uses, I hate to say this, used to, sad times, won't get another Discworld book. R.I.P. Terry Pratchett. He won't get, he uses different punctuation, different ways of showing words to emphasize his writing. I like to do that too, so that's why I'm fine with this gap. Someone else might say, just write "it's not working" and then Fortis managed to splutter through gritted teeth, and that's no, hang on, he can't splutter through gritted teeth. It's not working. Yeah, you can do that, it's fine. Another tip, it's probably not a bad idea to sometimes act out what you're trying to write to see if it makes sense or if it's even possible for the person to do. I'm fine with that. Like I said, someone will tell you you don't need those dashes. Just slim it down and let what is said next inform the reader or why that the pauses should be there, I'm fine with it. I think, because I think that someone would read it and go, it's space not working. Fortis managed to splutter through gritted teeth. Hang on, maybe I don't need it. If someone's reading this I'm going to read this in my head. You won't be able to see this. Okay, no, it works. I read it in my own head. I put the pauses in as I was reading it in my mind, and it emphasizes it in a way that brings it to life for me. The reason why I had to just test, because of course when you read books on your own in a nice comfy place by a fire with a cat on your lap, that's the dream. That, you know, it's that's how people read it. You sometimes have to think about how people actually read it for all of this to work. So, okay, what I'm actually kind of doing is still filling in this bit here. That's fine. I know where I'm going. I can do it. It's not working. Fortis manages plus through gritted teeth, showing that he's angry both at the soldier and Huxton. The soldier obviously doesn't care, so maybe Huxton has to do something else that causes the soldier now to grab him and throw him. Oh, I know. Huxton. No, this is not working. Frowned at. No, hang on, I've got to give some more context to this. Need to go back. He had to do something though. This is the best place to like, we know where Fortis is at the end of this sentence. We need to put Huxton in a context for what I'm writing next to make sense. He has to do something though. The being was currently trying to crush his best friend's neck and his root. Huxton held on. Huxton had his finger. No, that's not right. Huxton. Is this the best place to put it? Oh no, I know where to put it. Fortis gasped at Huxton, who was hanging on for dear life. Oh, now see, that's cliche. Do I want that though? Was hanging on for dear life. Who was dangling? Yes, dangling from. It's okay to say soldiers from the soldiers' shoulders. This is the best place. Do something! Fortis gasped at Huxton, who was dangling, who was clinging. So the soldiers. One leg hooked over the right shoulder. No, I can't mention shoulder blades twice. The internet is a wonderful thing. Armour on the shoulders. It's called what? A pauldron. One leg hooked over a pauldron. A pauldron is what is here, usually on armour. If you know Warhammer 40k, you know that Space Marines have that giant stuff here. That's what a pauldron is. So, Fortis, let's see, do something now. Do something, Fortis gasped at Huxton, who was clinging to... Gasped at Huxton, who was clinging to the soldier's shoulders with... Hang on a minute. Soldiers. One leg hooked over a pauldron to steady himself. To give him. What is it? Have I said gripped? Grip. Okay, so that gives us a sense of what's going on. There we go. Do something for Tiscaster Huxton, who's clinging to the shoulders. I'm fine with that. One leg hooked over a pauldron. One leg hooked over a pauldron to give him leverage, grip, to steady him. Because you don't grip with your leg. Pauldron to steady him. So to steady him. I am doing something fortunate while continually stabbing away. There's nothing. He's not. It's not bleeding. It's not bleeding. No, can't do that. Continue stabbing away. It's not working. Right. What will cause him to get thrown off quickly? So he's like can't really do it on the camera, but he's got one leg over the shoulder. Maybe he's got that around. Oh no, that's one bit. Of himself and his free hand wrapped around the chin piece of the. Okay, now I need to do armor on. Okay, helm chin piece is called what? The chin piece is called a bever, or in earlier forms a bever. Okay, so I'm going to have to act this out myself. So he's got one leg hooked over one shoulder, maybe an arm wrapped around there holding onto the chin piece of the soldier's helm while he's doing this to try and stab him. And now I'm giving the reader this exact look. Fortisgaster Huxton, who's clinging to the soldier's shoulders. One leg hooked over to steady him, his free hand wrapped around the chin, or just the chin piece of the soldier's helm for grip. There we go. That's the grip. I am doing something. I continue stabbing away. Huxton's leg slipped. Then he dropped. And he dropped the knife on instinct. On instinct to use both hands to steady himself. His fingers. I wonder what they. Sorry, what I'm imagining in my. Okay, when you write, you're basically all you're really doing is describing what you're seeing in your head. That's what's happening on the page, but also recording dialogue that you're imagining them saying. So this is what I'm imagining. He's got Huxton has his hand around on the chin, like if you imagine as a person right here. So he's got a arm wrapped around there. He's got his leg licked on there. He's stabbing away like this. So what happens next? His leg slips. He obviously goes wide-eyed. He drops the knife in an attempt to grab, and he grabs the helm. So that's what he's doing. Huxton's leg slipped, and he dropped the knife on instinct to use both hands to steady. Wait, I've already used steady himself to stop himself from falling to the ground for now. I'm going to go back and make this a bit more detailed sometimes. Not every time. So he dropped the knife, and he next slipped, and he dropped the knife on instinct to use both hands to stop himself from falling to the ground. What I was just thinking, what's that noise like when your fingers grab something? There's like that. There's like that. You know how when your fingers sometimes go across glass and it makes that like rubbing sound. I'd imagine that if the helm is made of metal, it might make the same thing. So what's that sound? What's the onomatopoeia of that sound? Sound when your fingers slide down glass. Actually, I'll put metal in case there's actually a derivative. The sound from your fingers on metal coin nose good starts is a high-pitched screech. Right. There was a screech. A mild screech. There was a screech as his sweaty fingers slid down across the metal. And there was a screech as his sweaty fingers slid across the metal and found purchase on the eye sockets. Yeah. Huxton's leg slipped and he dropped the knife. Sorry. Oh, my leg's gone. Dropped the knife. Grabs the thing. Catches the eye socket. And then and the helm starts to turn with that. Okay. His weight. As he tried to. As he locked his fingers into place, the helm slid sideways. The soldier stepped back, flailing its arms. Is that flailing? That's not flailing. That's not the one I'm going for. The soldier stepped back, flailing. Isn't it flailing its arms? Yeah, that's the right one. The soldier stepped back, flailing its arms. I can't see. Huxton said, smiling, but beaming in pride. Oh, hang on. Fortis. I can't do gasped for air. Can I do Fortis? For sorters, heaved, wheezed, panted for air. No, I don't want to say he heaved in a giant, gagged, exhaled. Oh, actually, yeah. What's blurted. That would do. No, he's not blurting. The soldier stepped back, flaying his arms. Fortis's neck got the reprieve he was hoping for. Finally, he could. I can't see, Huxton said, beaming in pride, and rescuing his friend. Got to his feet right as this, right as the enemy will go with it. Fortis got to his feet right as the enemy reached over. Oh, dear me, what is the gauntlet? Reached over with a gauntleted. Did you say gauntleted hand? Reached over and grabbed its shoulders, over its shoulder, reached over its head with both hands, both gauntleted hands. With both gauntleted hands, grabbed Huxton by. Now I need an old fantasy word for clothing. I don't want Anti-clothing. I know. Names. Need to know what these things are called. Is it called like a jerkin? I seem to remember that being something. Oh, here we are. What is this? Need a glossary of terms, really, don't I? Glossary of fantasy clothing. Okay, we're getting closer. Should I just say shirt for now? Tunic? Yeah, we'll go with tunic. We'll go with tunic for now. Glautin buys tunic. Fortis got to his feet as the enemy reached over its head with both gauntleted hands, grabbed Huxton by his tunic, and launched him forward. Fortis barely had time to blink in surprise. As his best friend hurtled towards him and bore him to the ground once more. I just realised that people are reading this and they don't really have a good clue about who they are, like what they look like. Should I be doing that earlier? Okay, Fortis seethed as he gripped the soldier's heel and shin and attempted to push him out of the ground. Do so. What's going on? This place is substantive. Maybe. I know. You're an orc, aren't you? You're stronger than this. You're an orc, aren't you? You're stronger than this. You're an orc, aren't you? You're stronger than this thing. Help out. Now, I can say orc, and the readers will probably get an already picture in their mind about what that means, what that looks like. They'll give a general shape. I can describe it a bit better later. So that's fine. I think people just assume that Huxton is a human. Should Fortis say something? It seems a bit weird for him to say, do something, human. I think I'll just let people assume. The soldier stepped back, flailing his arms. Fortis' neck got the reprieve he was hoping for, and finally he could take a deep breath. It can't see, Huxton said, beaming in pride at rescuing his friend. Fortis got to his feet right as the enemy reached over its head with both gauntleted hands, grabbed Huxton by his tunic, and launched him forward. Fortis barely had time to blink in surprise as his best friend hurtled towards him and bore him to the ground once more. The pair of them rolled across Huxton's mother's favourite rug. Rolled across. Oops, Daisy. Huxton's mother's Huxton's mother's favourite rug. A pair of them rolled across Huxton's face. Into a stop before striking the dining table's thick oak legs. Before crashing into? Yes. Not think, thick oak legs. Are you aiming for me? No, is that funny? Are you aiming for me? Are you helping this guy? Are you working? Yeah. Are you working for this guy? Right, just so we're a bit clear. We've already thrown him off. Now we're filling in this section before they throw something at the soldiers. At the soldier. Are you working for this guy? Fortis barked. No, Fortis wheezed. I didn't plan this. I didn't. This guy. Can you catch me? Yes, there you go. Can you catch me? So they have a sort of. So I like the idea of them having a sort of relationship where they quite like to cheerfully banter with each other, but they're still friends. Couldn't you catch me? So they I want them to have this because then it's it's just a bit more fun. But quick characterization note, I think. Character note. So they both have Fortis and Huxton both have banter. However, Fortis's is slightly more angry. It comes from a sort of irritation. So when they have a go at each other, he uses anger and irritation. Huxton is about defending his pride a little bit. So he's not. So when he chats back, it's about defending himself, like he's a bit maybe sort of insecure maybe about it, like he doesn't want to be seen to have been making mistakes. It's not about him making mistakes, is it? It's about it's not about him making mistakes. It's yeah, he doesn't like making mistakes. That'll have to be revealed later. Fortis is angry / irritated because why? He's a bit non-sociable, maybe. Like, hang on a minute. You just get why did you do that? So he's angry, which kind of means he wants things to go well. So maybe he's like, maybe it's a bit unsociable. Like it's a bit unforgiving, maybe unforgiving. In his like, things should go right. Things should go right. Good. I just need that for later. That will help. I'm going to have to stop soon. However, I just got a sort of comment in the chat. Thank you, just Ava. So glad to hear that you started your own author tube channel. I hope that goes really well. I shall have to follow you after this to see where that goes. Thanks for watching the stream, and good luck with whatever book you're going to write. And I hope if you're watching this to gain hints and tips, I hope it will be helpful. Anyway, let's try and round this off a little bit. At the very least, I should kind of finish off this bit right here. Where's that red pen? There we go. Alright. Couldn't you catch me? Huxton said. Huxton retorted. Clanking of metal on. Is it necessary to say the clanking of metal because only metal clanks? The soldier staggered for a moment, then grabbed its helm and twisted it back into position on its head, aligning it, taking a moment to align it properly. Why did it do that? It's got no eyes. soldier. No, you can't stagger again. The soldier. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're like this. You just done that, and it goes. Looked around. The soldier looked around, spied its sword. Yeah, not giving it a very. I'm not going to give it an amazing fancy weapon yet. The soldier looked around and spied its sword lying on the flag. It's not flagstones, is it? Flagstones are surely outside. Generic flat stone. Okay, yeah, I'll do. Lying on the flagstone. Near the fire. No. Soldier looks around and spied its sword lying on the flagstone floor near the open, the fire pit. Then winced at the minute. Okay, so now I need to let you know what I'm imagining so you can understand how you take that and put that onto a page. So what I'm imagining in my head is that the soldier is like, he's done dealing with them by trying to crush him. He wants something easier, so he looks around for his sword. He sees it over there, and this is the perfect opportunity for me to use his action of picking up the sword to describe the building, so I don't have to go into some weird like awkward way of describing the setting. Also, this is a chance for me to get a little bit into Huxton's head, for Huxton to sort of take it in and explain how we got here. You don't explain how you got there right at the beginning. That's kind of boring and doesn't attract the reader, so you need to do it a little bit later, but you need to do it within enough scope of time so that your reader is still interested and wants and gets the information they're actually kind of looking for. Huxton winced at the mess this intruder had made into his family home. It had burst in, accompanied screams from outside. Outside, trying to slash at the pair of them, at him and his best friend, Fortis. Do I give them a game? What do two fantasy boys essentially do when they're... It had burst in, accompanied by screams from outside, tried to slash at him and his best friend Fortis, who have been enjoying roast gator. I don't know, we're in a sort of large creatures found in swamps. Saltwater crocodile. Fish? Do I call it gator though? Croc? A dial? No. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, I'm going to use gator for the time being. Tried to slash at him and his best friend Fortis, to have been enjoying a roast gator before. No, who had been... I don't need to give it... I don't need to do that right now. Okay. Tried to slash at him and his best friend Fortis. It had burst in, accompanied by screams from outside, trying to slash at him and his best friend's Fortis. Interrupting. No. And trying to slash at him and his best friend Fortis. Thankfully, they heard them. Thankfully, the pair of them fell off their seats in shock, and the wet blade had come down. On the table. Seats in shock, and the blade had come down on the table, lodging. Okay, hang on a second. Let me show you. It's probably not a bad idea to do this if you're. Okay, what do I need? I need the fire in the centre of the room in some kind of fire pit. Where would the table be? Probably right next to it there, maybe? Oh no, they can have a bigger house, can't they? So there's the table. No. There's the table. Here was the door. They were sitting in here. So, Fortis and Huxton, shall we say. So, soldier bursts in, heads this way, blade strikes the table, they fall that way and that way. So now the soldiers... So that will put the soldier here now. Blade lodged in things. So then puts... I know this isn't great, whatever. He puts the boot on Fortis's neck as he's lying there, trying to grip it, allowing... Wait, I'll do this the other way around. Does it matter which way around? Okay, hang on a minute. Nice rug here. No, this isn't working. It's going to have to be this way around then. Table, door, Huxton and Fortis. Soldiers here, blade lodged in thing. Okay, maybe the fire can't just be here. It should be open plan, but maybe the fire's in the corner instead. Fire's there instead, which allows me to put the table more or less there, maybe. We'll put a nice green rug right here, I guess. So I should be storyboarding it, not doing it like this. But either way, what we end up with is soldier boot on Fortis's neck right here. After they crash in, so swords there in the thing. Huxton's here gripping the soldier, legs flailing behind, knife in hand from the dinner table, that's fine. Then he twists the helmet off. So he'll twist the helmet off Huxton. This causes the knight to stagger back. Fortis got up here. Huxton's thrown at him there. They roll across, hit the table legs, putting them both basically here again. So they tried to slash at him and his best friend Fortis. Thankfully the pair fell to the seats in shock, and the blade had come down the table, lodging in the wood. The soldier tried to take it out, but his dad's prized oak table. He often spoke proud. Bragged he had. You don't whittle that. Carpentered? No, you don't. Carved. He had carved himself. That would do. He had carved himself. The soldier tried to take it out, but his dad's prized oak table, he often bragged he had carved himself, held up. Didn't let go of the store. Kept the sword for itself. Huxton winced at the mess this intruder had made in his family home. It burst in, accompanied by screams from the outside, and tried to slash at him and his best friend Fortis. Thankfully, the pair of them fell off their seats in shock, and the blade had come down in the table, lodging in the wood. The soldier tried to take it out. But his dad's prized oak table, he'd often bragged about, carved himself, kept the sword for itself. The soldier then decided to okay, they found the sheath on the shock. Hang on a second. Cutlery, the cups to the ground, and the blade had come down the table, lodging in the wood. Abandoned his weapon and decided to choke stomp. Is that it? Choke. Is that choke? Am I inventing something new? I know. Yeah, sometimes, sorry, you guys will see it. Sometimes my spelling's bad. I can't do anything about that. The soldier abandoned his weapon and decided to choke stomp Fortis. Now, though, it wanted its sword back. Okay, sorry, I don't need that anymore. Hang on a second. I'm gonna have to stop soon. Huxton throws something at the soldier. There we go. I know what to do. Huxton grabbed a mug lying next to him. Where it smashed against its helm, and I don't use the word staggered again. Smashed against its helm and pushed it. Pushed? It's not pushed. Where it smashed against his helm. Maybe trusty old thesaurus. Staggered. Teetered, and it teetered backward. Stumbled. And so, okay. Look, sorry, you didn't see me type that. Okay, either way, I'm going to have to stop there. But where I am at now is all of that. I've just done all... Oh, look, it's a nice smiley face. Anyway, that's what I did. I did all that. So, actually, I'm going to keep that circle so I know I've done it. He threw something at the soldier. And then this sets up the next scene, which I'll write in the next episode. Well, I'll talk a bit more about the setting. I've actually kind of done that. And they're causing it to get ready to... Okay, yeah. I'm not going to cover anything else today because it's an hour and 13 minutes. Anyway, I will do a quick... Let me quickly read through what I did, though. Okay, very quickly. So we did the first line. Hang on a minute. Okay. So, did the first line up here. Hopefully you can see my mouse irritating it. So, and I did that last time as well, so I'll skip that and just say, do something, Fortis gasped at... No, hang on. Do something! Fortis gasped at Huxton, who was clinging to the soldier's shoulders. One leg hooked over a pauldron to steady him. His free hand wrapped around the chin piece of the soldier's helm for a grip. Does that sound right? Do something, Fortis gasped at him, who was clinging to the soldier's... Gasped at Huxton, who was clinging to the soldier's shoulders with... Shoulders. One leg hooked over a pauldron to steady him. His free hand wrapped around the chin piece of the sword hand for grip. I am doing something. I am doing something, Huxton wailed, continually stabbing away. It's not Working? Fortis managed to splutter through gritted teeth. You're an orc, aren't you? You're stronger than this thing. Help out. Huxton's leg then slipped, and he dropped the knife on instinct to use both hands to stop himself from falling to the ground. There was a screech as his sweaty fingers slid across the metal and found purchase on the eye sockets of the helm. As he locked his fingers into place, the helm slid and took his and tensed his arms to take his weight. There we go, I needed that. When he locked his fingers and tensed his arm to take his weight, so we don't need that anymore. Take his weight. The helm slid sideways around the head. Of this thing. Of this. Actually, hang on a minute. Around the head of this thing. The soldier stepped back, flailing its arms. Fortis's neck got the reprieve he was hoping for, and finally he could take a deep breath. It can't see, Huxton said, beaming in pride at rescuing his friend. Fortis got to his feet right as the enemy reached over its head. Yes, got to his feet, reached over his head, both gauntleted hands grabbed Huxton by his tail and launched him forward. Fortis barely had time to blink in surprise as his fresh friend hurtled towards him and bore him to the ground once more. The pair of them rolled across Huxton's mother's favourite rug before crashing into the dining table's thick oak legs. Are you working for this guy? Fortis wheezed. Couldn't you catch me? Huxton retorted. The soldier staggered for a moment, then grabbed its helm and twisted it back into position, taking a moment to align it properly. Not aligning. Why did it do that? It's got no eyes, Huxton said. The soldier looked around and spied its sword lying on the flagstone floor near. Ah, I just realised a mistake. If it's still in the table, how do I get it there? Okay, that's fine. Now I know where to do this. The soldier looked around and spied its sword lying on the flagstone floor near the fire pit. In the corner? Yes. Huxton's parents are too poor to have a proper chimney. In the corner of the room. Huxton winced at the mess this intruder had made in his family home. It burst in, accompanied by screams from outside, and tried to slash at him and his best friend Fortis. Thankfully, the pair of them fell off their seats in shock, knocking cutlery and cups to the ground. No, that's not right. That's not right. Ground. And the blade had come down on the table, lodging in the wood. Okay. Huxton, proud, no, not proud, in a flash. Desperate to not be killed. Seems a bit too soon. Huxton kicked him. Hang on, that means. Oh, I know what to do. I'll cut this out. Right. So, what I'm thinking about this, I need to get the blade over by the fire because I need the soldier to move over to the fire off the rug so they can take the rug and put it over him as I plan down here. So it's lodged in the wood. Try to take it out, but his dad's prized oak table he had often bragged he had carved himself, kept the sword. Hang on a minute. No. Before the soldier could take the blade of what he said. Before the soldier could take the weapon, could extract the weapon from the wood. From the table, it's fine to say table again. We're going down the table, lodging in the wood. Before the soldier extracts the weapon from the table, Huxton kicked out at his hand, sending the weapon flying. nasty. But leaving a nasty gash in the wood. Gash. Which drive his father crazy when he saw it. Before the soldier could extract the weapon from the table. Huxton kicked out. Oh, I missed it. Add to dictionary. You won't let me. Why won't you let me do that? Oh well. Hit the table from the table. Huxton kicked out at its hand. Sending the weapon flying, but leaving a nasty gash in the oak, which would drive his father crazy when he saw it. The soldier abandoned his weapon and decided to choke stomp Fortis. Now, though, it wanted its sword back. Huxton grabbed the mag lying next to him and chucked it at the soldier, where it smashed against his helm and stumbled. Hold on, you've got to... No, let's not have them be a little bit bantery. Let's let them start working together. Now, though, it wanted its sword back. So Huxton... Hang a minute. Before it could bend down to grab its weapon, Huxton way over the time. Grabbed Thesaurus. Seized. I like that. Seized a mug lying on the ground. Seized a mug lying next to him and chucked it at the soldier, where it smashed against its helmet and it stumbled backwards. Good. I'm stopping there. Right. I hope this has been really helpful. You've seen me describe what I'm imagining and how that written down, and how I broke down here on this the action sequences, so it's so much easier for me to write. I know exactly where I'm going. Yeah, I have to rework some things as I go, but that's life. That's writer's life. If you're going to do writing, if you're going to become an author, there you go. I'm going to stop there. Next time I'm here, I'll continue. I'm going to keep writing, get this chapter done, and more chapters going to take ages. Maybe I'll have to just write and skip some portions where I don't need to be talking to you. Okay, hopefully not. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next. Stay tuned. Keep an eye out for the next live stream. I kind of just do them when I feel like it, but you can always rewatch them again. I should probably set a time so you always know when I'm going to do this. But either way, thank you so much for watching. Hope this has been really helpful. More writing in the next episode. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world.